The pursuit of perfection has always been one of the most powerful and relentless forces driving human society, especially in an era dominated by relentless digital scrutiny and the unforgiving gaze of the public eye. Every single day, millions of individuals look into the mirror and confront a barrage of societal expectations, seeking out the latest scientific breakthroughs, wellness trends, and medical advancements that promise an effortless transformation or a swift resolution to deeply rooted health challenges. In the glamorous yet demanding landscapes of modern culture, this desire to optimize the human body can lead even the most grounded individuals down complex paths of self-experimentation, where the line between advanced wellness and unpredictable medical crisis becomes frighteningly thin. The modern world is utterly fascinated by the promise of rapid change, captivated by revolutionary compounds that claim to rewrite the rules of biology, appetite, and aging. From high-tech clinics in major metropolitan hubs to the quiet privacy of residential bathrooms, a silent revolution has been taking place, driven by a new class of synthetic peptides and metabolic modulators that have completely taken the global collective consciousness by storm. Yet, beneath the polished surface of miraculous success stories, dazzling red carpet appearances, and enthusiastic social media endorsements, lies a deeply unpredictable frontier where individual biochemistry can react in ways that even modern medicine struggles to foresee. This story is not merely about a singular medical anomaly, but rather a profoundly vivid window into how quickly a structured routine of personal enhancement can dissolve into an absolute nightmare, challenging the boundaries of endurance, partnership, and physical survival. If you want to stay informed about the hidden realities behind today's biggest trends and hear the extraordinary true stories that shape our world, please take a brief moment to subscribe to our channel right now so you never miss an episode. The narrative of human health is inevitably a narrative of trial, error, and the unexpected vulnerabilities that bind us all together, reminding us that no matter how advanced our science becomes, the human body remains an ancient, complex ecosystem that demands absolute respect. To fully understand how a quiet, routine evening in a beautiful family home could suddenly transform into a terrifying sequence of events resembling a psychological thriller, one must first look at the broader cultural tapestry that encourages us to constantly push the envelope of physical optimization. For years, the public has watched the evolution of modern wellness with a mix of awe and skepticism, witnessing the rise of complex biochemical regimens that were once reserved exclusively for elite athletes or clinical research facilities, but have now become accessible to anyone seeking an edge. It is within this highly charged atmosphere of constant self-improvement that our subjects found themselves navigating their own personal health journeys, balancing the demands of a high-profile lifestyle with the ordinary, chaotic responsibilities of raising a family and managing complex autoimmune realities. The illusion of complete control over our own biology is perhaps one of the greatest myths of the 21st century, as the sophisticated mechanisms governing our hormones, blood flow, and metabolic rates operate on delicate, interconnected pathways that can be easily disrupted by even the smallest external interventions. When multiple powerful substances are introduced into this intricate internal matrix, the potential for unexpected synergy or catastrophic conflict increases exponentially, setting the stage for a sudden breakdown that catches everyone involved entirely off guard. As we prepare to delve deeply into the terrifying specifics of this modern cautionary tale, we invite you to reflect on the hidden risks that often lurk behind the promise of modern wellness. Stay tuned as we unravel the initial moments of a crisis that would test a long-term marriage to its absolute limits, leaving two seasoned individuals screaming in the dark, completely powerless against a sudden, violent rebellion of the human body. The delicate balance of human physiology can withstand a remarkable amount of stress, but when that threshold is finally crossed, the transition from apparent safety to an absolute medical crisis happens with breathtaking and terrifying speed. In the early summer of 2025, author and actress Jenny Mollen found herself navigating a highly complex personal wellness routine that involved microdosing Tirzepatide, a potent GLP-1 receptor agonist primarily designed to regulate blood sugar, appetite, and digestion, alongside a sophisticated cocktail of other experimental peptides. Motivated not by mere cosmetic vanity, but by a genuine and frustrating struggle with an autoimmune disorder and a hyperthyroid condition, she sought to stabilize her erratic metabolism and manage her health through cutting-edge medical science. Having previously stopped and restarted the medication, she was completely unaware that this specific pattern of inconsistent usage might be altering her internal hormonal chemistry in highly unpredictable and dangerous ways. The situation came to a sudden, violent head inside the private sanctuary of the home she shares with her husband, celebrated American Pie actor Jason Biggs, turning a quiet evening into a literal bloodbath that would completely shatter their sense of security. Without any prior warning or gradual symptoms, Jenny began to experience massive, uncontrollable uterine hemorrhaging, a sudden and catastrophic flow of blood that defied any ordinary expectation of a standard cycle or perimenopausal variance. As she rushed to the bathroom to confront this terrifying physical reality, she began passing enormous, solid blood clots that she later graphically described as being the literal size of dinosaur eggs. A horrifying sensation that made her feel as though her body was violently expelling massive objects in an agonizingly unnatural process. Sitting on the toilet, completely overwhelmed by fear and watching an unbelievable amount of blood completely cover the floor and fixtures, she began screaming at the top of her lungs for her husband to come and save her. When Jason Biggs ran into the bathroom expecting a routine household issue, he was instead confronted with a scene of absolute, unmitigated carnage that completely paralyzed his senses. Rather than being able to offer immediate, calm reassurance, the seasoned actor was so completely traumatized by the sheer volume of blood and the sheer violence of the medical emergency that he joined his wife in a state of sheer panic, screaming aloud like a character trapped inside a visceral Hollywood horror film. The sheer shock of the scene left both of them temporarily trapped in a loop of mutual terror, a raw human reaction to an unexpected and deeply grotesque bodily rebellion that neither of them could comprehend. Despite the objective horror of the situation and the fact that she was actively hemorrhaging at an alarming rate, Jenny stubbornly refused to immediately seek professional emergency medical care, choosing instead to stay at home and monitor the situation while hoping the terrifying flow would somehow subside on its own. As the hours ticked away into the deep dark of the night, her physical condition continued to deteriorate drastically as her circulatory system struggled to cope with the immense and ongoing loss of vital fluids. Lying in bed next to her husband, who had eventually succumbed to exhaustion and passed out into a deep sleep, she realized with absolute certainty that she was losing far too much blood to survive without intervention and desperately tried to wake him. Jason, still completely drained by the earlier emotional trauma and unable to fully grasp the escalating danger in his half-conscious state, brushed off her panicked warnings, sleepily telling her that she was completely fine before drifting right back to sleep. Driven by a desperate need to use the restroom, Jenny managed to stand up and drag herself back to the bathroom, but the sudden change in posture combined with her severely depleted blood volume triggered a massive vasovagal reaction, causing her blood pressure to plummet instantly. Her vision went completely black, her muscles failed, and she collapsed heavily onto the hard bathroom floor, losing consciousness entirely as her body attempted to force blood back to her brain. Finding herself trapped in a terrifying state of semi-consciousness on the cold tiles, unable to move or stand, she began feebly crying out for her husband, telling him that she was completely unconscious and desperately needed his help. This time, the sheer gravity of her voice cut through Jason's exhaustion, sprinting into the bathroom to find his wife completely immobilized and gray on the floor. Standing over her in absolute desperation, he begged her to get up, telling her that she had to muster the strength to walk to the family car so he could personally drive her directly to the nearest hospital emergency room. But Jenny was absolutely physically incapable of walking even a single step, her body entirely drained of the energy required to support her own weight. Despite the undeniable severity of the collapse, Jason initially resisted calling a professional ambulance because he was deeply terrified that the loud sirens and flashing emergency lights would wake their young sons, 12-year-old Sid and 8-year-old Laszlo, who were sleeping peacefully down the hall. He desperately wanted to shield his children from the trauma of seeing their mother in such a state, but his plan to quietly transport her himself was instantly shattered when Jenny fainted for a second time right before his eyes. Realizing that time had completely run out and that his wife's life was actively hanging in the balance, Jason finally abandoned all hesitation and dialed 911, summoning emergency services to their residence. Within minutes, paramedics swarmed the home, gently lifting the completely incapacitated mother onto a gurney and rushing her through the dark streets into a high-stakes hospital environment. leaving a trail of questions about what had truly caused this sudden near-fatal crisis. The chaotic rush of an emergency room in the dead of night is a sobering environment where the illusion of absolute control over one's life is instantly stripped away by the harsh glare of fluorescent lights and the rhythmic, urgent beeping of medical monitors. For Jenny Mollen, being wheeled in on a gurney after losing consciousness multiple times was a profound shock to the system, transforming her from a fiercely independent author and wellness advocate into a critically vulnerable patient. Medical professionals immediately jumped into action, working frantically to stabilize her plummeting blood pressure, administer vital fluids, and pinpoint the exact source of the massive, terrifying hemorrhaging that had almost taken her life. Throughout those high-stakes hours in the hospital, Jason Biggs remained steadfastly by her side, navigating the deep emotional transition from the absolute panic he had experienced on their bathroom floor to a state of focused, protective vigilance. Together, the couple endured a grueling battery of tests, examinations, and monitoring as physicians worked to control the bleeding and ensure that her vital organs were no longer at immediate risk from the severe blood loss. The sheer exhaustion of the ordeal was matched only by their shared relief when, by the grace of exceptional medical care and sheer physical resilience, the hemorrhaging finally subsided and Jenny was deemed stable enough to return home. By 6 o'clock the very next morning, the exhausted couple walked back through their own front door, pale and emotionally spent, yet just in time to put on a brave face and see their eldest son off to summer camp. Jenny would later look back on that entire experience, describing it on Kelly Ripa's podcast as a profoundly harrowing night that fundamentally altered her perspective on self-experimentation and the hidden vulnerabilities of the human body. This shocking incident opened up a much broader and necessary conversation about the real-world complexities of using highly advanced metabolic medications outside of strict, conventional clinical guidelines. Reflecting on the root causes of the crisis, Jenny openly discussed the fact that she was taking Tirzepatide alongside a highly specific, customized cocktail of other experimental peptides. Driven by her ongoing battles with an autoimmune disorder and a hyperthyroid condition, she candidly admitted that she did not necessarily blame the GLP-1 medication entirely on its own, but rather hypothesized that the powerful compound was significantly altering her delicate internal hormonal balance in ways she hadn't anticipated. Crucially, she highlighted a specific behavior that many medical experts warn against, explaining that she had been repeatedly stopping and restarting the medication rather than maintaining a steady, consistent therapeutic routine. She concluded that had she simply stayed on the medication consistently, her body likely would have adapted smoothly. But the erratic cycle of stopping and starting was what ultimately disrupted her reproductive hormones and triggered the catastrophic physical response. The journey of Jenny Mollen and Jason Biggs is one deeply rooted in the unique pressures and vibrant histories of their respective careers in the entertainment industry, making their sudden brush with mortality all the more impactful. For decades, audiences have known Jason Biggs as a brilliant comedic actor, a man whose iconic role in the American Pie franchise forever cemented him in the landscape of modern pop culture as a symbol of lighthearted, awkward, and deeply relatable humor. To see a man who has brought so much laughter to millions of people around the world reduced to screaming in sheer terror on a bathroom floor highlights the profound, unscripted equalizer that a true medical emergency represents. Jenny Mollen, an accomplished author, actress, and digital personality known for her sharp wit, unflinching honesty, and satirical take on modern motherhood, has built a massive following by refusing to hide the messy, unfiltered realities of life behind a polished facade. Her willingness to step forward on a major public platform and share the graphic, terrifying details of her medical emergency reflects a deep commitment to transparency, serving as a vital warning to others who may be navigating similar health paths. Their marriage, which has weathered the intense scrutiny of Hollywood for over 15 years, was tested in the most visceral way imaginable that night, forcing them to rely on an intense bond of survival that far transcends the glamour of their public personas. Beyond the immediate drama of their personal experience, this story sheds a crucial light on a growing global phenomenon where individuals, desperate for relief from chronic health issues or seeking optimization, turn to complex biochemical regimens. The rise of GLP-1 receptor agonists like Tirzepatide has undeniably revolutionized modern medicine, offering incredible breakthroughs for individuals struggling with type 2 diabetes and severe clinical obesity by completely rewriting how the body processes insulin, manages digestion, and signals satiety to the brain. However, as these powerful synthetic peptides become increasingly mainstream, they are frequently integrated into broader, unmonitored wellness routines involving multiple experimental compounds, creating a highly volatile internal environment. The human body is not a series of isolated components but an incredibly intricate, deeply interconnected ecosystem where a single alteration to metabolic pathways can cause a massive cascade of effects throughout the entire endocrine and reproductive systems. When medications that fundamentally alter hormonal signaling are taken inconsistently or mixed with unverified peptide cocktails, the risk of triggering an extreme systemic rebellion increases dramatically, as Jenny's harrowing experience so vividly demonstrates. Ultimately, this narrative serves as a powerful reminder of the profound respect we must maintain for our own biology and the critical importance of pursuing health through rigorous, consistent, and professionally supervised medical frameworks. The terrifying night endured by Jenny Mollen and Jason Biggs was not just an isolated moment of personal trauma, but a profound milestone in their shared journey, reinforcing their reliance on one another and giving them a renewed appreciation for the fragile, beautiful nature of life. As they returned to the quiet routine of raising their two sons and focusing on authentic recovery, the echoes of that midnight crisis remained, a quiet but permanent testament to the hidden dangers of the modern pursuit of perfection and the enduring power of a love that can withstand the